In the Alwar district of Rajasthan, there is a 17th century fortress so feared by the surrounding villages that the Indian government actually stepped in. The Archaeological Survey of India has placed a strict, legally enforceable ban on anyone entering the premises after sunset. Today, Bhangarh Fort is a sprawling stone complex, slowly being swallowed by the Aravalli Hills. The courtyards are empty, the walls are crumbling, and vines choke the ancient pathways. Local residents enforce a much older law. The surrounding communities hold a deep-seated belief that anyone foolish enough to step inside these walls at night will either vanish without a trace or suffer a violent death. This combination of official restriction and dark folklore makes Bhangarh a global destination for dark tourism, with the government's own signs inadvertently serving as the ultimate verification of the local legends. But the ruins were once a thriving 16th century metropolis. This wasn't a temporary outpost. It was a planned, permanent city housing over 10,000 residents. The city utilized the natural topography of the Aravalli Hills for defense. These protective walls were built directly into the rugged terrain, allowing the kingdom to control vital trade routes between Delhi and Ajmer. Inside those walls, Bhangarh featured the markers of a wealthy civilization: multi-level royal palaces with latticed stone balconies, bustling markets, and the intricately carved temples that still stand today. In less than a century, this sophisticated administrative and commercial center disappeared completely, leaving behind a massive urban vacuum that no one ever attempted to resettle. According to oral tradition, the fall of the city is traced back to two specific legends. The first involves a revered ascetic named Guru Balu Nath. He allowed the fort to be built near his meditation spot on one condition: the expanding palace must never cast a shadow over his sacred ground. Legend says when the shadow finally touched his retreat, the sage cursed the city to ruin. To this day, the fort's buildings remain roofless. Believers claim attempts to build a roof over these stone structures results in an immediate collapse. The second legend centers on Princess Ratnawali. A dark magic practitioner, Singya, became obsessed with her, attempting to enchant a bottle of perfume to force her to fall in love with him. The princess sensed the magic and shattered the bottle against a massive boulder. The potion's power allegedly caused the rock to roll down the hillside, crushing the sorcerer. With his last breath, he cursed every inhabitant to a tragic, restless death. These specific, violent stories have remained part of the regional identity for 2 centuries, turning a historical ruin into a site of permanent spiritual dread. This graph plots Bhangarh's estimated population. Throughout the 1600s, the city maintained 10,000 residents. The line plunges in 1720 as a severe famine devastated the area. The final collapse hit zero in 1783, when the depleted city was sacked during an invasion. By the early 1800s, Bhangarh was a ghost town. The failure of resources and military defense emptied the city more effectively than any magic could. If the records of famine and war are so clear, why did the survivors choose to remember shadow curses and enchanted boulders instead? Anthropologists often point to collective trauma. When a community is destroyed by factors outside its control, like starvation or sudden invasion, supernatural narratives help process the psychological horror of that collapse. These legends also provided physical safety. The ruins were filled with unstable masonry and collapsing floors. The fear of a curse acted as a deterrent, keeping people away from structurally unsound buildings. The folklore wasn't just a story. It was a survival mechanism using fear to protect the living from the dangerous remains of the past. This logic persists in the modern day. The Archaeological Survey of India's ban on nighttime entry is rooted in the same practical concerns that likely shaped the original legends. The fort has no artificial lighting, the stone structures are prone to sudden collapses, and the remote location means there is no cellular reception to call for help in an emergency. There is also the threat of local wildlife. After dark, the abandoned palaces become a hunting ground for leopards and wild boars that move down from the Aravalli Hills. A government policy designed to prevent tourists from tripping in the dark or encountering a predator has had an unintended effect. By legally enforcing the sunset curfew, the state has effectively institutionalized the belief that the fort is too dangerous to enter at night. The historical facts of the 1720 famine are kept in archives, but the legends are kept in the streets. As long as the gates are locked at sunset, the ghost story of Bhangarh will continue to